1 minute. Let me
should
let me
interview
do
Chris.
a formal introduction to the show. And then, so good afternoon, Jamie. My name is Claudio, calling you from Washington, D.C. And this is Christian from Santiago, Chile.
Hey guys.
From the studios in Fairfax City, we are very humble and grateful that Jamie Glazer accepted our invitation to the show. Jamie is an American guitarist, best known for his guitar work on popular television shows like Seinfeld, Saved by the Bell, etc. He has recorded and toured with many artists such as Brian Adams, Jean-Luc Ponty, Chick Corea, Manhattan Transfer, Lenny White, and many, many others. Jamie, welcome to the show.
So nice to see you guys. It's actually, when you think about it, amazing. Christian is in Santiago, yeah,
Correct.
and
Yeah, yeah.
Washington, and we're all together.
Mm.
There's some good things that come out of technology for sure.
Absolutely, man.
Oh, here we play.
Ah,
Oh, of course.
never heard that version, but for
Oh, this-
guitar.
Yeah, no, I can. Sometimes I sit and I make up other versions. He's not happy when I make it heavy metal, you know. I have to. But most of the time, his music is beautiful.
Oh, absolutely, man.
Hear anything, it's ready to play.
All right, Amy. So this has been a weird year for everybody.
Yes.
We don't know what's going on with the pandemic. How is this affecting your creativity? Now you're at home, you cannot tour, you cannot go out that much.
Okay, you know, I think because I have many very, you know, my heart, my dear friends are mostly in the music business. And I feel very guilty myself, to be honest with you guys,
Mm.
because I embraced technology many years ago. I was teaching online almost 15 years ago. At the very first month of Skype, I was teaching online. So the honest truth to you guys is I have never, ever done better in my life. My work has gone 5 to 10 times more. Where I live, you know, I grew up in New York. And then after music college, which was in Boston, Berklee College, I went to Los Angeles for 24 years. And then I moved now to Utah, Salt Lake City.
Yeah.
And we were very lucky here. We never had a lockdown. We are all careful. I have a mask. I have my guitar mask, you know. And yes, but the thing is, to be honest with you, Claudio and Christian, in a very weird way, this is going to be hard to explain. The pandemic was good for me another way, because during this period, I signed a contract with Discovery Network to compose for television, because they had before the Discovery Network, yeah. And during the pandemic, they bought 100 stations or 106 stations, broadcasters. So they, as my understanding now, they own Animal Planet, they own this network, they own that network. They bought them all, like $1 billion. And they signed only a few new composers, and I was one of them.
Wow.
So I have right now, in fact, when we finish today, I have to write 10 cues tonight for a show coming in January, which I can tell you about. It's a show that was successful originally in Italy. But my point was that since I have done so well, it gave me a life opportunity. It gave me an opportunity to reach out to other people to help them. I went out and, you know, it's not good to talk about your donations, but I help musicians sometimes financially. I made a special book of all the companies that were giving what they call grants, you know, loans. Most of them loans to not repay, like grants, particularly for actors and musicians. I made that book public on Facebook. I gave it to my 6,000 or so email subscribers. I was working several times now at the community food to give to food to people.
Yep.
And so it's interesting because, you know, guys, when you are an artist, a musician, it's always about me, you know? It's always about me. Claudio Bustamante called me on the phone. He emails me, you want to do an interview? It's about Jamie. Claudio sends me pictures. It's about Jamie. Then this guy calls. It's about Jamie. I want your guitar. It's always about Jamie. And so it gave me a beautiful life opportunity to be a better person, to be giving instead of taking.
Sure.
And so I think, again, you know, I'm very involved with social media. I have a company managing 13 different clients, very well-known clients, not all musicians, but, you know, very proud of this. And my Facebook, as particularly Facebook and Instagram, very strong. And it gives me opportunity to reach out, but I'm very quiet. I don't post. I help this guy, I help that guy, because people, as much as they like that you have success, if you're not successful or you're having a problem, the pandemic, you have no money, you cannot pay the rent, your children are hungry, they don't want to hear that Jamie's doing so good. Jamie's happy, Jamie, you know? So I'm quiet about this. This is the first time I'm actually saying this in public, that the pandemic has been a blessing for me. I have, unfortunately, I have lost two friends. One was elderly and the other one was not. And so I am surely sensitive and aware of this, you know.
Yeah. No. Yeah. So I'm very aware. That's what. Remember that in the second email that I sent you, I say, Jamie, this is a gift from me to you. You don't know the picture coming. I took it, and I say something like, I know you are a good guy and you enjoy it. Do whatever. And you say, do you want me to include your name and stuff? Say, no need. I mean, there's nothing wrong making money for yourself, your wife, your kids, and doing well in life, like most of us have done here in America. But it's something bad if that's the only thing you do, right? So you want to spread the wealth, right? There's nothing wrong making a house, making a car, flying. You earn it. You're a very good top musician. You study in the best school in the country, music related.
Yes.
You know, you are two of the most important people in the world. So there's nothing wrong, right?
No,
so you gotta help out.
Your head, the brain is always working, you know, and sometimes in the private moments, it's like what you were just saying.
Yeah.
When I got your response about the pictures, I smiled. It was made me happy. It's also a sign of friendship, you know.
Of course, yeah. You know.
It's a sign, and that's another thing that you found out during the pandemic, really how important other people are, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. My dad, my dad, Christian, met him many times, right? He passed away about 7 years ago, and he did have a lot of music, and I've seen about music. And my dad told me one day, well, if you're good to people, people are good to you. You know what I mean? And you're a good guy. So, you know.
By the way, do you know the artist Gloria Trevi?
Yeah.
You guys know that I was her guitar player, no?
No, I didn't know.
I read that.
Yeah,
I read about that.
I know you. I wasn't sure where. I know he's in Chile, but so I worked for Sergio Andrade, who was her producer, the guy who, you know the story with them, right? Or maybe you don't know the story, but I'll tell you if you're interested about the.
Yeah.
So they many years. I was getting involved. First, I was in the studio with a producer, Jose Silva, who I loved. I loved this man. He called me one day because studio musician Mike Landau could not make a session. And somebody suggested this guy, Jamie, is also from Berklee and this stuff. So the guy gave a chance to me. And right away, it was like familia. You know, right away, like family. And before I knew it, this guy who was the engineer, he was just doing the engineering, Jorge Fonseca. Sergio, Jose Silva says to Jorge, you go out there, Jamie, you play like disco on the guitar. And I was like, here, I was holding the guitar. He says, you know, that sound they put in the hustle. I said, you mean like this? He said, just play that over and over. Okay. So I don't know what Jose Silva wants, but I do. He's the producer. So he says, Jorge, you go out there and you do a rap. And Jorge looks at him like, what are you, crazy? You know, he says, what am I supposed to say? He said, you go out, you play to Jamie's beat, and make sure you say it in Spanish, in Espanol. Anyway, Jorge Fonseca made a #1 record. And 3 months later, it was the first rap record in Spanish in Mexico. And because of that record, now suddenly I'm playing with this guy and Jose and Gloria Trevi. And then they asked me to go touring with Gloria. There was one rule. And the rule was, Jamie, do not speak in Spanish. Because we're hiring you to be the star, Los Angeles rock star. You know, I had my long hair and my looks. No, nothing. And do not talk to Gloria. Do not talk to her. Oh, there was one more rule. Do not go with the background girls, the background singers. If I go with them, I don't know what we have to censor here. If I go,
anything goes.
Okay, if I have sex with the background singers, he'll kill me.
Yeah.
So I'm in Mexico City.
Yep. Sorry about the camera.
In my hotel room. He says, you do not go with the background singers or I'll kill you. And I'm laughing because I have a pretty big ego. I've been on the road. I'm single. These girls are beautiful and so happy. I'm gorgeous and stuff. And he says, comprende? I said, see. He takes a gun, and he shoots all the lights in my hotel room just to scare me.
Yeah.
Like, he was no kidding.
Of course, he wasn't.
And so on and on. Now I'm scared a little bit. He's a very powerful man. He's now in jail, I think, forever, actually, this man. But anyway, long story short, I was not able to speak to Gloria in Spanish, and Gloria did not speak English at this time. So we would look at each other and maybe wink. I mean, I'm the guitar player. I'm singing. She's singing a song called Pelo Suelto. You know this song?
No.
These rock and roll songs. And she's coming with her mouth on my whammy bar on the guitar and doing this stuff and all this crazy stuff. And finally, I started to talk to her. I said, okay, I've been with the band a year. And we start to talk, and she's amazed that I understand Spanish. I don't speak so well, but I understand it. So, so we're talking, and she hugs me with, I thought this guy's going to kill me. She says to me, "Cara de mono." So I'm thinking that this is the most loving thing that I ever heard. Gloria Trevi calling me "Cara de mono," and I'm so happy, right? And then maybe 5 days later, I go with the band to dinner for some dinner, and I said, Gloria keeps calling me "Cara de mono." What does this mean? What does it mean?
Yeah.
They says it means monkey face. And I was shattered, man. I thought all this time she liked me. She was making fun of me. She's calling me monkey face. So that's my story for Gloria Trevi.
All right.
Jamie, sorry, well, hello. I was just checking the Gloria Trevi's show in Viña del Mar, the very famous song festival in Viña del Mar back in 1993. And
Yes.
she did very weird things. She tore up her clothes. She climbed up the speakers. She was about to fall. So back in 93, she was very special, to say the least.
Oh, yeah. Oh, she was, and here's the interest. And so for the listeners who don't know, Gloria Trevi was like in America, like Michael Jackson, like a superstar. She had a radio show that was 1 million people a day. She had a calendar and a record selling, platinum, everything. She was the biggest thing in Mexico and also other countries where Latinas. So this woman Never had a cerveza, never, no, nothing, completely 100% sober, nothing. Never tried to smoke, never tried to drink, like straight like a librarian, you know. And the end of the story was after we finished, this manager that I'm telling you about, Sergio Andrade, who was a great musician, by the way. He was crazy though, very crazy. Was controlling. He was controlling everything, controlling the sound, controlling the lights, controlling the recording, controlling the publishing. You saw the story with the gun. Everybody was controlled. The girls, I found out later, he paid the parents in little villages in Mexico $60,000 a piece, so he could do whatever he wants with the girls. So they're kind of like slaves, you know. He looked for talent. This man was not a good man that way. And anyway, he's in jail for molesting, now I know. But what happened was Gloria Trevi, one day, she decides that she does not want Sergio for the manager anymore. And that was not going to happen for Sergio. So what he did was, she was pregnant with his baby, I think. And she was in hospital in California, right? And while she's sleeping, he comes in with a needle and puts heroin and cocaine in her arm. No problem, right? She's sleeping. The next day, he comes back with heroin again. So then the third day, he gives her nothing. He knows what to do. She's now sick because she's already addicted now to the drug, right? And she's sick. So the doctors do an examination. They find the drugs inside of her and they put her in jail with the baby.
My God.
And Sergio did this as punishment because she wanted to fire him.
That's crazy.
It's a crazy story. So that was the end of the band. She was in jail in Los Feliz in California for maybe 1 year, a little less than 1 year. And then he did some bad things and he went to jail and it was all finished and she came out and she starts a new life. I never saw her again, but yes, sir, Christian, she was crazy. She's jumping on the ladders. She every night, every single night I played my solo, she ripped my shirt off. Like I would be standing there, my tank top, you know, the tank top, no sleeves, just pieces of shirt. I play the whole show like this, just with skin. I like it. I felt like a rock star, but I said, Sergio, you have to buy me a shirt every day. He says, no problem. How many shirts do you want? Okay, rip my shirt.
All right, what a story, man.
Very different story than Jean-Luc Ponty.
Absolutely, yeah. Jean-Luc Ponty is very straight. He goes by the rules, man.
Very straight, nothing like this.
So let's go back to the beginning, Jamie. Were you born like in a musical family? And how old were you when you began playing guitar? Or learning how to play?
Do you play, you guys musicians?
No, I'm not.
We listened.
I don't need any more competition. It's okay. Yes, my father is what they call a lyricist. He writes the words for the songs.
Yeah.
And he was very well respected. He wrote lyrics for many pop jazz artists like Nat King Cole, Sarah Vaughan, Frank Sinatra, many Joe Williams, many standard, you know, these people were playing pop music like Tony Bennett, you know, it's pop music, but it's jazzy, you know, it wasn't, you know, scat singing, it's just different. So he wrote many lyrics. He had some very good luck, and because of my father, his inspiration, I'm sure that's where I was interested to play music. Of course, I wrote many songs with him, and I miss him very much. And And yes, so I was playing piano at 5, 6 years old, maybe. And then I was interested in guitar. So we got a guitar when I was 8.5, maybe. Well, not maybe, 8.5. And at 9 years old, I started to my first guitar lessons with a guy named Joe Breeze, who was the guitarist on the Ed Sullivan Show.
Wow.
So right from the start, I had a professional teacher. And that's because of my father's connections, of course, you know. He was a great teacher, great for many reasons. First of all, he's a great teacher, but he inspired me to do why I make a good living, great living in music, is to learn to read music. This thing sets me apart from the other people. He taught me to sight read the music, to read it without ever seeing it before. And by the time I was 12, I was playing professionally with people 50 and 60 years old, 40, 50, 60. I didn't, you know, I had much to learn. I still have much to learn. But because I could read the music just like an adult, they thought it was great to have this little kid playing the guitar, you know, and I was playing in concerts and weddings and proms and bar mitzvahs and corporate parties, and all the time learning from the adults, you know, learning from experienced musicians. So I studied with Joe Breeze until he died. And then I had another teacher who was Bette Midler. You remember Bette Midler?
Yeah.
You remember
The Rose.
The Rose, or also, you know,
Yeah.
Winds beneath my wings, right? So he was playing on Boogie Woogie Bugle Boy from Company B. He played the part, and he's a great teacher. And then I had one other teacher, and finally ended up at Berklee College of Music in Boston.
Well,
And
beautiful.
it took you 18 years fast, but
Yeah, no, I know. Go ahead, Christian. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Well, first of all, Jamie, I don't think you remember, because we did meet here in Santiago back in when you came with Jean-Luc Ponty to 2011, I guess it was. Yes. And you signed the live CD. That's the picture I just sent you a few minutes ago on the chat. I sent you a picture with your autograph, just in case. I don't know if you got it.
I see it now. Hold on, let me look.
On the chat, yeah. It's not important, but.
No, I want to see. You kidding? I appreciate it, but all the people listening, they can't see. Or maybe they can.
I sent it at 8 and 9 minutes, just in case.
Yeah, let's see. Okay, I'm going to take a quick look.
Yeah.
So, oh, yeah. Look at that.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
No, thank you. I mean, I was going to say two things to begin with. First of all, congrats, really congratulations. It's an honor to be talking to you for your amazing contributions to the music of Jean-Luc Ponty, especially on one of his favorite albums for me, like Place for Passion, which is amazing. I really enjoy that album. That's one thing. And the other thing is that I really am an animal real lover, and I never had the privilege of petting a cheeky chinchilla, but I admire your straightforward and clear declarations against the cruelty there still is, even involving some famous artists. Where does this love for animals come from? Well, you share something there.
It's very interesting because the people are going to be able to see this, yeah? This is not just going to be audio?
No, video and audio, both.
I want you to hold on for 1 second.
Yeah, both.
So what's that? A round guitar. It's like a banjo.
Give me 1 minute, Christian. I'm looking.
I want you to meet your new uncle, Christian.
Oh.
I want you to meet your uncle.
Oh, come on. How lovely.
This is Buttercup.
How are you? How are you, Buttercup? How lovely.
She's a good girl. The interesting thing is, in music and being creative, they say something like, you find the possible from the impossible. When you are writing a piece of music, it does not exist, right? It's somewhere in space, in your heart, in your brain, wherever, and then it exists. It becomes a song, eh?
Mm-hmm.
And it's a kind of communication very difficult to explain, including making a record like Taste for Passion. You sit down, you read a piece of music, and can you make it so it excites somebody, or emotional, or a new sound, or any of that, yeah? And I find the same thing with animals, particularly these animals, because Buttercup is not domesticated. Where you have a cat, you have a dog, you expect. If you say no, they stop. Maybe they stop. If if they have to go to the bathroom, they go maybe outside, right? But with this animal, they were only brought to North America, actually from Chile. Yeah, they were brought. They come from Chile. So, yeah, what's amazing is most people in Chile, when I told them, and I'm thinking in the desert now, Antofagasta.
Antofagasta. Yeah.
Yeah, so the desert there is 2 hours to find the wild version of this. So in 1923, one man, his name is M.F. Chapman, he thought he would make some money from these animals because of the fur. And he brought 2 chinchillas to America, to North America. I think actually first to Canada, but to America. And from 2 chinchillas, now we have, of course, millions. And so only these animals have been in people's homes since 1923. Where if you talk about a dog or a cat, or even in some cases a hamster or rabbit, they've been in the people's homes now since the time of Jesus. So this to me is like a song that I have to figure out, because if I tell Buttercup no, she does nothing. Right now she's pooping in my hand. She doesn't know, right? You don't know the difference. But what she does know is that she can trust me. I see. And these animals are what they call prey animals, means that every animal wants to eat them. They come from the Chinchi Indians, yeah? They use these for coats. So when you say, what do you do with a chinchilla? If you can do this and hold them and go like this, even, you're a miracle worker, because they're scared of everything. To them, I'm the hunter, and she will sit here with me for, and that's why, I have great love for her. And in fact, to be honest with you guys, you want to talk to these guys? In Chile, I begged the promoter. I begged him, Carlos, there. I said, please, I give you all my money. Take me to the mountains to see the chinchillas. But unfortunately, Jean-Luc Ponty's schedule was so much. He said it will take 2 hours to go in. Then we have to get a permit from the government in Chile to go, because it's a refuge for the chinchillas. But this is what I expect to come back to Santiago and all over Chile to see these animals. I love them. And also I think the other thing is that because they're fake, Aretha Franklin, Aretha Franklin?
Of course.
The thing she was showing off was her chinchilla coat. And her chinchilla coat had 350 animals in one coat. It's not like you guys eat steak or a cow. It makes 700 meals for one person. And, there's not a discussion about animals like that, but to make 350 for one lady, and to get the fur, the way they get it is very not. I don't want to talk about on the podcast. It's very cruel. So Yeah, I've tried to protect them, but it means very, very much to me, Kristen, that you know that I have a good regard for animals, respect. You know?
And they know who to trust. That's very beautiful.
They're like babies. They know.
Yeah.
And sometimes you're sleepy. You know, these guys wake up at night. It's only 4 o'clock here, so you're pooping on me. You want to do the radio opera here to sing for them?
A radio ID.
Yeah.
Oh,
Look at that, man.
Oh, lovely. Oh, lovely.
put her back. She was. I'll be right.
So put the camera straight.
¿Qué pasó con la cámara? What happened with the camera?
All right. All right.
Anyway, I don't know. I really want to say I appreciate what you said very much, because it means a lot to me to be real. Do you know what I mean? And I lived in Hollywood for 24 years, not in Hollywood, you know, but I saw a lot of BS, a lot of people. They were nice if you could give them something. They have no use for anybody else. And it bothered me a lot. It was like everybody was playing Halloween all the time. They always had their mask on. And I don't mean the kind of mask we're all wearing during the pandemic.
I know what you mean, man. Yeah.
So yeah, thank you, Kristen. And
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you for sharing this little precious moment, because I don't think I've ever, maybe I could meet a chinchilla, but not yet. Now, I would like to take you to something else, Jamie. How do you value your participation with the Jean-Luc Ponty band, and how did it take place, and why did you leave, if you don't mind my asking?
no, in fact, I want you to ask anything you want.
Okay.
I'm an open book. Okay. Well, the truth is, when I was at Berklee College of Music, Steve Smith, the drummer, was already playing with him.
Mm-hmm.
And he came to me and he said, look, maybe I can get you to play with Jean-Luc Ponty. And well, this story is actually longer, because before Berklee, I was in my room. My brother's a drummer. He's 2 years younger. And he's playing on the radio, Jean-Luc Ponty. And I said, what are you listening to that crap for? It's just a violin player. I didn't even, you know, I had such a closed mind, because I was listening to heavy metal. I was listening to Black Sabbath and well, even not even Taj Mahal, and you know, or any rock band there was, a Grand Funk Railroad and all this stuff from the 60s. And I heard this violin. I just heard the violin. I didn't even listen to the music. I was like, shut that SH off, you know. And then one day he played something from Aurora for the first album. And that was the day I realized that I was listening to greatness. So I knew his name, and it was at Berklee. And Steve Smith told me he might be able to get me in the band or whatever. And I told my father, I said, Dad, I'm going to leave the college. I'm going to go on tour with the famous guy. My father didn't know, right? And my father said to me, no, you are not. And I said, what? I said, that's why I came to music college, to become with someone great, to learn music, you know. He said, and this I'll never forget, if they want you now, they'll want you later. He says, you're not leaving school. You're going to finish the school. You're going to get your degree. So I say, Dad, in the music business, nobody checks your degree. Nobody looks at your wall. It's not like you go to the doctor. They only go by if you can play and if you're okay and you're talented. He said, you know what? He said, someday you will be proud that you have that on your wall. And I must tell you guys and your wonderful audience, he was right. He was right. I find myself very proud to have my bachelor's of music in composition. I teach now at a Juilliard school where they call me professor, but I don't have a master's. only because I have this degree. And my father was always right, it seems. It's funny how this happens. But after school, I got a call from Jean-Luc Ponty himself. He said, "Hello, this is Jean-Luc Ponty. Would you like to audition for my band?" I said, well, okay. I was very excited because I saw they were on tour. They were doing all this stuff. Yeah. So I went to the audition where there was Ralph Armstrong and Alan Zavad and Jean-Luc, of course, and Steve Smith. I sight read all the music. He put Enigmatic Ocean, Imaginary Voyage, you know, and I looked at the music and it was very difficult. I remember when I saw Imaginary Voyage, which is, I believe, like in 16 or 17 time, you know, it was like, I sat in the room and went, and I said, this is the weirdest thing ever. So I just kept playing and he says, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, like, and I was like, holy crap, I can't do this. So I had to practice, you know. I kept going. And I started to get it together. And they were all looking at me like, who is this guy? Because the other guys, Daryl Sturmer could read some, but, you know, he was already in the band. He was old. So anyway, a week later, they called him. He never told the band. He didn't tell the band because Alan Holdsworth was the guitar player. So Alan Holdsworth, you know the story of Alan Holdsworth, yeah?
Yeah, he passed in a not very nice way. I heard that well, I was very sorry when I heard about his passing. He was such a great musician.
Amazing, but he gave me my career, Holdsworth. So Alan, the reason why they were doing the audition was because Alan was on this big tour with Ponty, where they're playing for 10,000 people in New York, in this place called the Coliseum. And the story goes, Alan walked into Jean-Luc's dressing room. He said, Jean-Luc, I have to go home. And Jean-Luc said, well, what do you mean you have to go home? We're on tour. He says, I have to go back to the United Kingdom, to London. I miss my girlfriend, this and that. And Jean-Luc thought he was flipped, that he was crazy, you know. And sure enough, the next morning, Alan Holdsworth was on a plane. He leaves. Just like this, just like that.
My God, man.
And what not only did he just leave, but he left his amplifier, everything, just got on a plane, took his money from the tour and got on an airplane. So now they have Daryl Sturmer and they don't have the other guitar part, which was Holdsworth playing. So that's when the audition happened. They had like 3 weeks off and they did the audition. I had never heard the record Alan Holdsworth did, which was Enigmatic Ocean, yeah. I didn't know any of Ponty's music, so I just read the music. And then I get a call again from Jean-Luc Ponty himself, and which I really like about him. He didn't have the road manager call or whatever. He said, okay, I'd like to have you on the tour. And now I understand who he is and what this means. This is my break, yeah. This is my day, the day God gave me to be famous, even, you know, to make a mark, to move the people. So he says, okay, we're going to send you plane tickets and you be in Ohio on Friday, like this. He says, we have a show Friday night. I said, but I never played with you. No rehearsal. He says, well, just read the music. So I come to you don't know this story, guys. Maybe your listeners don't know.
Yeah.
So I go to the hotel. I very excited, you know, very young. I don't know what I'm doing. Was never in Ohio before. I have my guitars and my amplifier and the plane and, you know, dreaming of what this day will be like. And I come to the hotel. It's a Holiday Inn hotel. And in the lobby, excuse me, is Ralph Armstrong and Steve Smith. Alan Zavad is talking to a girl somewhere in the lobby. And I walk in and I say, hey guys, how you doing? You know, and they all said, hey, Jamie, what are you doing here? And I said, what do you mean? What am I doing here? He says, well, why are you in Ohio? Who, this is the key. Who are you playing with? I said, well, I'm playing with you guys. And nobody, Jean-Luc never told the band, never said one word to the band. It was a complete surprise that they just didn't give any notice to the band. So that was the most incredible night that you could ever dream of. Ever. You hear the stories, you know. It makes like a feeling inside that I wish everybody could feel, you know. I went to the sound check and went to this dinner that all the musicians get served a catered dinner. I'm thinking, man, this is crazy. And then I hear the announcement. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Atlantic Records recording star Jean-Luc Ponty and his band. And I walk on to this stage. Now, I had played since I'm 12 professionally, but no concert like this, where people were freaking out, thousands of people, and the lights and the cheers. We walked out and it was already standing ovation. I never even played the music before. And that was beautiful. So we played. And to your question, am I talking too much? By the way,
no, that's perfect.
So then we play. We're doing great. And you know, I'm already writing songs with my father. I'm already a studio musician. I was already making maybe $50,000, $60,000 playing on the weekends and playing around New York. And I said, well, great. Now I'm famous. I'll do the Jamie Glazer band, or the band was actually called Gramophone. It had my brother on drums, my girlfriend on guitar and singing, and I wrote all the songs, you know. So I went into Jean-Luc's dressing room and I said, look, I love you, man, but I'm going to try to go as solo now. So that's why I left. And he wished me luck. But then in the chronological order, actually that's second. So the first time we finished this unbelievable tour, so the story I just told is after this unbelievable tour. And he comes in the room, he says, you know, I love you guys, but you, I can take you on the next tour. And you was Daryl Sturmer and me and Steve Smith. And why let me ask you your history. So why do you think that he was not going to take us again?
I think he was, for what I read on the internet and your profile, I think you guys, especially with Daryl Sturmer that ended up with Genesis, weren't going more in the rock path.
Yeah.
But Ponty was more like a jazzy guy. So I mean, he's always had jazz, but more of jazz rock, no jazz rock, right?
100%.
Plus his violin more. Remember, his upbringing was.
It's actually interesting because Daryl was, you know, if you guys believe in heaven or God, it's funny how life works, because when we'd be on the tour bus or wherever, he'd be practicing music by Genesis. He was a freak for Genesis.
Yeah.
And Phil Collins even, but especially Genesis. And one day he got a call. He never called them. Somebody told him he knows Genesis music, and he got the gig. But it was Alan Zavad, Steve, and myself that he was not going to take again. Sturmer was going with Genesis, but we are the guys who made the band to rock and roll. So Alan Zavad and I, when we were playing, if we were playing, you know, one of the songs, like I remember, well, this was before Cosmic Messenger, but, you know, it didn't matter what song. If it was, you know that song?
Yeah.
So it's called New Country. So it's a country song, really, right? So what we would do on stage is dance around, and Alan Zavad, the keyboard, and myself, we would bang our heads into each other. And one day Ponty comes in, he says, you know, guys, I don't want you to be clowns. This is not a circus. My music is not a circus. And we said, we're just having fun, man. It's a fun song. He said, well, have fun after the show then, right? He was very, very strict with this. And by the way, 40 years later, I understand completely. I've been with him the longest on the guitar, proudly to say, because he taught me what his heart means, you know? I don't think I'm better than the other guys. I just happen to understand him. And then more things happen, because while I was playing with Jean-Luc Ponty, I was also playing with Bryan Adams, and I was playing with Iggy Pop on television, and Eric Burdon from the Animals, and you know, all this rock and roll stuff. Ian Lloyd, who was singing background with Foreigner, and I was playing with the keyboard from Foreigner and the bass player Steve Buslow from Meatloaf. And so I had two lives going on, you know, at the same time. A lot of rock and roll. And I wanted to be a rock star. I wanted to be Jimi Hendrix. I didn't want to be competing with Frank Gambale, you know, so I started to do rock star stuff. Like I would go and I would jump on top of the speakers, you know, like you were talking about Gloria Trevi. I was crazier than Gloria. And one day I remember I was playing a solo for a song called the Struggle of the Turtle to the Sea. And we lost Christian. And
no, I'm here.
Okay, we lost your video. We
just turned on the light, sorry.
Oh, beautiful. That's a very nice looking room, by the way. Both of you.
Music room.
Yeah, that's very nice. So this day I put the guitar behind my head like Jimi Hendrix. And I thought, well, the crowd will know that Jimi Hendrix does this, but they never saw a fusion guitar player do this. So I'm going to get a lot of attention. And I'm going to get a lot of girls. And I got both from this, doing this crazy stuff. I also almost got fired. Jean-Luc was angry. He was really angry. He says, you know, you're acting like a child. This is not, if you think, I don't remember exactly, but I believe he said Black Sabbath because he knew I was listening. You know, if you want to be in Black Sabbath, then you be in Black Sabbath. But you're in my band. You know, it was very much father to son almost, you know, not yelling, but stern. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't have to raise his voice with me, you know.
Jamie, can I ask you, what was the show, the tour? You were where people were shouting and freaking before you even went on the stage. That's one question. What tour was that? What record?
That was in 1978, at the end of 77, because I graduated Berklee in May, and I believe this was in August 77, maybe.
Yeah, you know, because the other day I played the Jean-Luc Ponty live on my radio show, and everybody, my friends, went asking why didn't they make a longer album, a double album? And he was very lucky that Wounded Bear Records rescued the tapes, because Atlantic Records never released that on CD. That's why I think, why didn't they make the? Because I imagine that the show is like for two LPs, not one LP, not one record.
Yes and no. So interesting about this album. We didn't plan this record really. Sometime in the tour, Jean-Luc was, you know, we were at dinner. He said, we're going to do a live album. And we said, what? What do you mean? You know? And I'll tell you an interesting story about this. So we were recorded 3 days in Long Beach, California. The same show. So we didn't do different music, and it was maybe whatever the show was, an hour and a half or 2 hours, you know. But interesting about this, both Manhattan Transfer and Jean-Luc Ponty have the same thing. When they go to a big city like New York, Los Angeles, they do to me, little crazy things. So in the morning, listen to this, guys. In the morning of the album, so 9 a.m., I get a knock at the door, 9 a.m., and it's Jean-Luc Ponty. And I don't think even to this day, I don't think he's ever knocked on my door before. Calls on the phone, the house phone, whatever. He didn't even do that much. I said, Jean-Luc, you okay? You okay, man? He says, yeah. And he takes out this piece of music. He's 7 pages long. 7 pages, like an accordion, you know? And he hands it to me. He said, I'll never forget it. He says, you need to learn this for tonight. I said, what? He says, you need to learn this. Learn the song, memorize it, because we're doing it on the live album.
Wow.
Yeah, this is the kind of, and I remember because I had to go to the bathroom and stuff, but I was flipping out, man, my brain was jumping out of my head because I'm looking at these pages. Jean-Luc Ponty's music, it's not like learning a nursery rhyme. It's difficult music, you know?
Of course.
And the song you guys know is called Renaissance.
Yeah, fantastic. With Patrice Rushen, by the way.
Yeah, Patrice Rushen, exactly.
Yeah.
But the guitar parts were not that hard, but the sections of it, the beginning has particular harmonics, these making the sounds, you know, all those kinds of things, you know. And I'm not playing the melody, so I play the harmonies and, you know, all that stuff. And I never heard the song before in my life. So now it's not in the days in 78, 77, we didn't have the internet.
It's a pity that Renaissance is not on the album. So
No.
I know that it must have been like, it should be fantastic for fans to have a more complete version of that.
Christian, this is you're going to have to ask Jean-Luc because it may be so bad that he wouldn't release it. He's very particular. You know, for 2 years we did the Anderson Ponty Band. Yeah, John Anderson, a fantastic experience. And we recorded to make a DVD. And they will not release it. They won't even show me a copy. I saw some of it.
Why is that? It wasn't good?
No, actually, from what I'm told, there are parts that are great. There's the business side, which is that in this world right now, the production of a DVD with a cover and the graphics would be a business loss in money. They're not secure enough to think they'll sell enough to make the cost. Where, to be honest with you guys, Jean-Luc is very good with money, and he made a good living, a very nice living. You know, I'm sure if you talk to him, he would. You know, that's not for me to say, but he did very well financially. So he's the last guy who wants to lose money. We were offered many tours to do clubs, large clubs, and he won't do it. There's a lot of reasons. First of all, to be honest with you, the musicians that he uses, Rayford, myself, we're not cheap. You know, as much as we love him and it would give him a discount, for me to leave my house, I mean, already today I did 2 albums this morning. I writing music for the Discovery Show. Yeah. You know, so for me to leave and to pay a pet sitter for my 12 pets every day, and all that, I don't want to tour. A lot of people call me to tour. I don't go. The money has to be good money. Yeah. You know, even though I love music and I love art, I also like to sit in my underwear and make the same money. No problem. So that's one thing. The other thing is, I don't know the business dealings of Jean-Luc and John Anderson together. There would have to be a reason for them to release the album. In the same way you're asking Christian about Renaissance, is that it was only days later that we asked him about Renaissance. He said, we are not going to use it, which to me means it wasn't to his expectations. You know, there were other things we did also, different songs. It's been a long time since we thought about that album, but well, it's not a bad album in that it really expresses the energy we had, I think.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know, that way, very honest. He's very honest. He also didn't fix too much, you know, like on Taste for Passion, on Mystical Adventures, on all the records. He would have me solo for 2 minutes and then take 30 seconds to make a solo. He creates the solos. You know, not to say I had no control, but he's a very good producer. You know, and he also, by the way, guys, he wanted to separate himself from the mainstream jazz fusion. Like, he didn't want to be Chick Corea. He didn't want to be Jeff Lorber or Yellow, whoever there was, where they solo for 10 minutes like a bebop band, you know. He had this sense, kind of almost pop music, you know. Short.
But he,
yeah, what's that?
no, sorry, no. He ended up playing with Chick Corea in the end because he was invited to return to Forever.
Yeah, and it's interesting because when he first did it, he wasn't used to playing so long in the solos either, even on his own band. So, and you know, I did Chick Corea with the electric band, and I found it very, very difficult in the beginning because.
When did you do it? I didn't remember that.
It was 84, 85. I took over.
Look at you.
I took over for Scott Anderson.
Mm.
No recording. I played. We played all in Asia. We played in Mexico. We didn't play in the States. Well, I don't think we played South America, but whoa, it was wonderful. Yeah, I played for you. You never saw the video on YouTube?
Well, I haven't so far.
Yeah,
I will.
Well, there's one for sure called Rumble, the song Rumble.
Okay.
And it was a great experience, yeah. But with Chick, it was my time to solo and I improvise, and I'm finished, right? Because of the way I'm also like a pop musician. I say what I have to say, I'm done. Jean-Luc Ponty, I say what I have to say, I'm finished. I mean, he gives me freedom to play, but no, you know, don't go too long. Chick Corea, he says to me, he will be yelling from the stage, Glazer, keep going. Glazer, keep going. You know, come on, Glaze. He called me Glaze. Go ahead, man. Don't keep talking. And I was up there trying to think of new stuff to play every night. He'd make me play a solo for 10 minutes, you know.
Wow.
I was very uncomfortable with him at music at first. And it was a different experience. But in the end, when I finished the Chick Corea tour, my technique was the best it's ever been, except for when I practiced Paganini. It was unbelievable because I was there playing and I had to come up with ideas that make sense. You can't just keep playing like a crazy man. So I know Chick Corea's right there, John Patitucci, Dave Weckl, and I'm playing. I have to inspire the other guys in the band. Huh? So it took some time. The first month was rough. The second month was better, you know. And Chick Corea, he wants to tour 12 months a year. So I was good. I was making money. It was fun, you know. And yeah, it was a good experience. I'm surprised, Christian, you didn't know this.
No, because I was really impressed, very impressed when Chick Corea came with his electric band to Chile back in the early 90s, and at least a couple of times. And it was really incredible. The whole band, Dave Weckl, I mean, they are like machines, really. That was what I sensed. Yeah,
that's exactly what I thought when I got on the band. I was like, who are these guys? Because Jean-Luc Ponty was all about emotion and about the feeling and about, like he would explain, you know, Once a Blue Planet, you know, this beautiful, you know, this.
Fantastic. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
It's one of my favorites.
Bless you.
Yeah,
Remember? And
of course.
Yeah.
background part for the guitar. This is behind when he's soloing. I mean, just this part, you know, is the backing for the violin solo or the piano solo. It can move your heart. Just that, you know. I should have practiced before this interview.
Yeah, what a shame.
But it just asked for, you know.
That's beautiful, man. Come on, man. That's pretty good.
You know what I mean? It brings you out. And so I went from that to Chick going. And I was like, holy crap, you know. You know, and he's like, and then Chick says to me, for the first time in my life, when you solo to my piano. I said, what does that mean? Because I was used to coming out and, you know, it's my time to solo and play, you know, right? But he didn't want me to do this. If he played on the piano, I have to think in my solo. Right? And then he'd play, da-da-da, da-da-da, and I have to think of my solo. So he directed my solo. So one day I asked Chick, I said, you know, nobody in my life has ever asked me to come in the front, take a solo, but take it to somebody else's playing. And what do you think his answer was?
I don't want to say. I think I know what he might have said. No, I won't.
He said to me, this is why the Chick Corea Electric Band sounds like the Chick Corea Electric Band. Because people, every guitar player that comes to this job, Bill Connors, Al Di Meola, Scott Henderson, Frank Gambale, Jamie Glazer, they all have to play to my piano. This
And
way,
they didn't.
there's conformity, and it was very interesting to me. Now, of course, Al Di Meola and I we do not play the same at all, and yet when I listen to what we did with Chick, there are some similarities to how we approach. You know, we had no choice. I mean, how is a piano player going la 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 la, and you're playing, so it's interesting, you know.
Yeah. No, like you say, you know, when you're playing for Ponty or Chick Corea or this and that, they hire you for the tour to do 20 gigs to play their music. So you can do some variances around it, right? But at the end, you're in the background and they are the stars.
Correct. We are side men, you know.
Yeah.
We're employees, but even that was all of this. And I don't know, is your audience many musicians, or explain your audience to me?
There are a bunch of Christian and I work in different areas. There are people
Mixed audience.
Jean-Luc Ponty, Peter Gabriel, Genesis, Pink Floyd, Depeche Mode, Pat
Right.
Benatar, Al Blondie, Coldplay, electronic music, a little bit of everything, man.
That's
So there are a wide range of folks.
This is why when I turned off for a minute, you sent me the links, I'm like, this is really good. I don't know why you didn't tell me this before the interview, because I would be a fan myself. But now I will be.
Plus, I released another one yesterday with all the interviews. I will send you a link later on, man. Don't worry.
No, please, and I want to support you guys.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks.
Anyways, this was interesting because you know, you have many this is the music business, yeah. So we have many influencers. When we were at Atlantic Records, we had, of course, Ahmet Erdogan, who gave the chance to Ponty, who could say, why don't you do this, why don't you do this, and he was giving Jean-Luc freedom to be himself. But later on, when we had producers, a few producers, usually Jean-Luc produced himself. This is, I forgot the producer on the album when we did the Stevie Wonder song. And all these people in those days, you remember the Brecker brothers?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the Brecker brothers, suddenly they put vocals on the record. These instrumental artists, now suddenly Fusion putting singers. And the record company said we could sell, instead of 500,000 records, we could sell 2 million records with a hit song. If you sing it, still you can be yourself, but you sing. So Jean-Luc said, no, we are not a vocal band. We're not going to sing. Meanwhile, Rayford is a great singer. Really good. Really, really good. You could tell him I told you so. And I sing. And it turns out later on, Baron Brown is a fantastic singer later on. And anyway, we want to be rock stars, not Jean-Luc, but the rest of us, we want to be like as big as the Beatles. So we used to call ourselves the Beatles of jazz. So we were really, we have a number 40 on the pop charts, and we're in limousines and the girls and everything. It was crazy times. Even in Santiago, the second time in Santiago, we had the guards taking us over the people, going above the people because they were pulling my shirt off. I love Santiago, man. And do you know, Kristen, I don't know, because you never, Claudia, you never lived in Chile, did you?
No, I was born there, but I moved here.
So
Yeah.
I have to say this, but I don't want to get in trouble.
Yeah,
So
sure.
the first concert I did in Santiago,
88.
yeah, I met the girl who they were calling Miss Santiago. You know who I'm talking about?
Mm-mm.
One,
No.
the model, she was Miss Santiago. Anyway, I that's who I stayed with for 2 days. Very proud of that for me. That's like I would rather be with Miss Santiago than Miss America. That is for sure. So
Right.
You might find her again sometime if you return. I'm sure you will.
make sure this is broadcast. I could use a wife. So
We will.
So Jean-Luc didn't want to do the vocals. So but the producer and the record company, which was giving us the money, they're pushing hard, So we tried. We singing da 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 da. The song by Stevie Wonder, huh? As right.
I was surprised. I was surprised with that one.
Huh?
Well, how did it come out on our Jean-Luc Ponty record? I was really surprised to find out. Is he a fan?
The producers want us to do this. It's very well respected. So Rayford sang the vocal. And it was and Jean-Luc hated it. I mean, he loved it. Rayford just sounded great. But for one, it was the first time to do any cover music. It was because we were already now on the pop charts with the band. So this was going to put us to a place where we could be on the top 40.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And indeed, all the television, they want us now. Solid Gold and Midnight Special and Don Kirshner's Rock Concert, all the big shows, they want us now because we sing. And it's the music business, guys.
Yeah.
So Jean-Luc says, no vocal. Here's a new instrument. This is just typical of Jean-Luc, right? Here's a new instrument called the vocoder. Try to sing in this. And that's where that came from. That's Rayford singing in the machine.
Yeah.
Right.
And then one day it was always like, and Jean-Luc says to me, come up, make up a guitar part, which was great because he always wrote the arrangement. He wrote every note. Not my solos, but every note.
Wow.
So this was one of the times where I came up with, and so he loved this, and then he doubled it on the keyboard. So this opened up a new door, right? So when we came to Rhythms of Hope, he wrote just a sketch. He wrote, he says, Jamie, you do your thing, And I came, And then he came with, right? It's such a happy partnership that way.
Yes, yes.
I always felt, you know, like a good boy. You know what I mean? Like when he gave me the opportunity to create even 4 bars, it's a lot of respect from him. He couldn't do anything, guys. He could write a symphony in 5 minutes. But when he says, okay, Jamie, here's the chords. What do you think? What do you think? You know, or all those kinds of things, you know, it's such a pleasure with him. You can tell I love him very much, you know.
Well, you have like a father-son relationship, like you mentioned before, you know. Yeah.
Positively. It's amazing. There's like the brother thing. There's the father-son, and then there's the boss and the employee. And I have to keep combining. But what's very interesting to me is I heard him do an interview with Eventide, the equipment people. And he told on the interview that I was helping him with social media. And he told him that I was like his son. I was like, you know, it's weird. He would not say that to me in the car. But to hear it on the radio, I was almost crying. It was weird. It's a weird life, man. Good life. Good life.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna have
Sorry.
to really edit this. I don't shut up, man.
Oh,
The words.
never mind.
I'm sorry.
I was going to tell you, Jamie, that I've been checking your Catnap music and also Happy Road. I was surprised to see that it took a long time to come out. And I paid some attention to the segment. It's kind of instructional segment. What are the isochronic tones?
Okay, so,
what do you refer to?
In the 70s, you guys are not old enough to know the 70s, but in the 70s,
Kind of, yes.
yeah, no, I know. Meditation was very, very popular. The Beatles were with Maharishi Mahesh Yogi. Musicians became very interested in this Eastern culture, right? And I was too. But, you know, I was at Berklee and just making enough money to live. And I was in an apartment building in Boston with some very interesting people. The people below me had a very pretty girl who I was dating, but also the guy lived with her who was always on LSD, always tripping, always crazy. And then the guys below him, these guys were teaching meditation. This building was like a insane asylum. I had the guy in the middle on the drugs, the guy in the bottom teaching the meditation, and on the top floor was me and a bunch of musicians. It was fun building. You know what a pug dog is? Pug?
Mm-mm.
You have to look up a pug dog. I should show you a picture. It's the dog with the squished nose. He's very popular. Like a Pekingese dog is the same. So I would find out that the guy below me was doing LSD, and I would put aluminum antennas on the dog and send the dog downstairs to flip the guy, to make the guy crazy while he was tripping. You know, it was just like a party all the time. And I was straight, so I love to mess with these people, you know. But the guy downstairs was teaching from Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, and I became interested to learn. But it was like $100 to $106, I think, as I remember, to finish the course. So I made arrangements to give him guitar lessons if he would graduate me as a meditation.
Yeah, an exchange, right?
An exchange. And indeed, he did. And so in 1978, I began to meditate. Later on, I learned many different forms. I learned there's a method called Jose Silva, mind control. There's many other things. I learned self-hypnosis and other things. And I give a lot of credit to meditation. Almost every culture has their form of meditation. To me, it gives me creativeness. It gives me energy that people, you know, people were thinking I drank too much coffee. on drugs, and and I know it's just meditation, 15 minutes morning, 15 minutes at night. And I feel like a specialist in this. So I went out to make this album of Happy Road. So I have on this album 15 minutes of verbal meditation to take you to a happy place. You listen for 30 days and I can guarantee that it will help. And I don't say that with ego. I just say, I know the technology. I know what it's going to do. It's basically self-hypnosis. It's a safe hypnosis. And to your question, isochronic tones, there's two kinds of tones people are using. It's called binaural tones, right? One is a tone that is constantly in there, that excites part of the brain. And there's a lot of music out there with this kind of binaural tones. In fact, there are websites, you can look it up, binaural. And this tone, they have to the frequency, in certain parts of the frequency, which they have proven, this is not like some crazy thing, that will relax you, for example, certain frequencies. Certain frequencies put you in beta or theta into 4 wave files. Isochronic tones are different. They're like this. They come out like they jut out like bump, 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 bump. So you're not hearing it all the time. And depending on the speed of those tones, it does relaxation for the brain. For me, I love it because it's especially good for what they call the right hemisphere of the brain, which is the mostly creative side. So throughout this album, I put the isochronic tones to stimulate the listener. There's also something else on this album I'm very proud of, although it's conspiracy theories, that before the end of World War II, it's thought that Himmler from the Nazis, this SS, wanted to create chaos in the world. Okay. And to help the mission of the Nazis, to help the mission of Adolf Hitler to take over the world. So they know that one of the most powerful things is music. So what they did was they raised the sound of the pitch. For example, for those listeners, everybody in the world now sees this note as A, or right? A, and there's a certain rhythm to this, 440 kilocycles, 440. This, before the World War II, was not A. That was A. Okay, and this A is in frequency with the earth. The earth has a beat. All things have a cycle, yeah? Our bodies, our heart, trees, the water, everything has, unless you're dead, it has a frequency, a vibration. So the earth vibrates at a multiple of that note, which used to be 432. And Mozart and Bach and all the writers that we know from that era, or Baroque, they were all in this other frequency, the pianos of those days. And when it's thought, by the way, it's not proven, that this was the thing, as I was explaining, in the Nazi regime, they knew music was powerful, so they raised this tone to a tone that does not vibrate with the earth. Scientifically, if you think about it, it makes sense, no? If a frequency, you ever hear this kind of sound, everybody? Listen close. It's almost right, right? This note and that, very close. All right, I'll get even closer. Can you guys hear?
Yeah.
Okay, so when you hear that it's not exactly perfect, but you also hear what we call beating, is la 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 la. If you listen close, it's going da, 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 right? That's called beating into a musician. And this can make you sick after a while. Your brain can make sense of this sound. That's why this, which is in tune, makes more sense. It's much more pleasant, huh? This is much more relaxing than this. So with that theory, that's what they were trying to do. If the frequency of the music is rubbing against the frequency of the earth, they thought they could create chaos. If you have chaos and someone stands there as the ruler, right? Adolf Hitler or somebody, anybody, you will be drawn to what is strong. He's very smart, very smart. So this record, Happy Roads, which is meditation record, was recorded all at 4:32. I broke the rules. I made it at 4:32. Now, I'll be honest with you guys. I have 2 albums ready to release, but I'm afraid to do it. Because for one, I don't really want to tour. For 2, every time I release an album, I make some money, but it's always like I have to promote the crap out of it. I have to, I have to really push. I've never really been known as a solo artist, so I just keep it, that's why when I write for television, I have 80 pieces of music on television right now. Nobody knows I wrote it, and it pays really good, like $150 a minute. So I'm happy. And it seems like, okay, now I'm going to spend 3 months to make an album. I'm going to release it and tell people on Facebook and ask them to buy my record and then make 32 cents on Spotify. And I was like, so I have not released. So those 2 albums, the ones you mentioned, thank you for mentioning Catnap and Happy Road, was just, I had to release something for artistic
release. Relief.
Release, yeah. A lot of people write me, why don't you release more records? Why don't you release more records? I usually tell them I'm composing 7 days a week, just not for you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I want to take you back to the beginning. I used to live in Boston, so I know Berklee very, very well. We have met people that have attended the school, so I know the school very well. But the time you were there with Vinny Cadayuda and then Mike Stern, Aldi Meola, Robinson, so, I mean, those were unbelievable 4 years. As a matter of fact, in a couple of weeks, I'm going to be interviewing the director of the Berklee for the radio as well.
Peter Gordon?
Yeah. And those the year that you were there, they were unbelievable. I mean, it doesn't happen every year.
No.
Every year you have, I don't know, 5 to 6 folks. But the time you were there, those 4 years, there were that many. It was a gift in many ways that all of you out of nowhere came out, and many of you became very, very well-known musicians. So,
well, there's a lot in there. For one, you're right, 100% right. In fact, even the school recognizes that something happened.
Yeah, absolutely.
This time between 73 and 77. Not only did we all end up there somehow, but we all ended up finding each other, And in fact, I married a girl from Berklee. It was magical time. But here we had, I tell you a very quick story, and I promise quick. I had an English teacher. To get my degree, I had to take English. In this English college course, you have to take to learn to be a critic of music, or critic, you know, like a reviewer. You had to learn journalism. You had to learn communication. You had to learn this. So he said, she, a harpist, she sends me to become a critic to a place called the Jazz Workshop. I said, well, who am I going to see? She said, this is an important story for me, so I hope you'll listen.
No, go ahead.
Because it's about Berklee, my Berklee teacher. She says, you're going to see a band called Return to Forever. It has a man named Chick Corea, very good piano player. Okay. I don't know this name. I never heard of them. I'm just listening to Eric Clapton, you know. And so I'm a big shot. The Jazz Workshop knows I'm a Berklee. They let me in for free. I sit in front of the table there. Yeah. Sit right there in the front table. It's a jazz club, right, guys? Kristen, Claudio, it's a jazz club. And I'm a rock and roll guy. So it's going to be baby, right? And suddenly the guitar player comes, Bill Conti. He plugs a Les Paul guitar into a Marshall. Then there's Lenny White and Stanley Clarke and Chick Corea. And I'm standing 5 feet from the amp and he plays 1, 2, 3, 4. Right? And my ears almost shot off. I think that if I ever got deaf, it was that day. It was the loudest music I ever heard in my life. But it was like a lightning, like lightning from the heaven. I never heard fusion before. I never knew Chick Corea. I never knew Lenny White. I never knew Stanley. I didn't know Bill. And I was like you know what do they call this? When a person, they lift them up.
Uplifted.
Levitating.
Yeah, levitated, yeah.
So I was like levitated. I swear. I was raised off the chair. Not because the volume, my body was overtaken. So they finished the show, and I still am out of breath just explaining this to you guys, you know. And then they asked me if I want to stay for the second show. Okay, so now I'm there from like 8 p.m. to 1 a.m. And that's it. So I walk outside, and there's a blizzard. It's snowing. It's like 5 degrees. You know, Claudio, you live there, yeah?
Yeah, of course, yes.
It can be pretty deep there. So it's snowing, man. And I walk over to the trolley. Remember the trolley, Claudio?
Yeah. Well,
he's finished. It's done. No more. So I live in a town called Brookline.
Yeah, of course, I know that well, very well.
You know,
Green line. The green
yeah,
line.
the green line. That's wow. So I'm like, what the hell am I gonna do now? I don't have it, you know. But I'm so fired up from this band that I decide I'm gonna go into Blizzard and I'm gonna walk all the way to Brookline. And that's exactly what I did. And I was warm, and I decided about halfway to the Brookline. And this will show you and your listeners. I don't care, your listeners, all you great listeners, whatever your dreams are, whatever they are, you want to be the man on the moon, the woman of the year, the best musician, it can happen. Because this moment, I was standing, and Claudio can tell you more about this area, in the snow, in the cold, and I looked up in the sky and I said, one day, I'm going to play with every one of these musicians that I saw tonight.
Oh.
I asked God, I said, please help me to play with all those people. And you all know what happened, yeah? So I played with Lenny White's band and recorded. I played with Chick. I played with Stanley Clarke. I was doing sessions at his house at Beverly Hills over and over when he was producing movies. And Bill Conti was the opening act for Jean-Luc Ponty. It's just the way, if you believe you can manifest your future. This was my day, you know, it was my day. So Berklee was fantastic back at the beginning. Nobody can explain why. So in the year I was there were so many people I can't even start with. Tim Landers and Neil Steubenhaus, John Robinson, Steve Smith, Mike Stern. I'm trying to think. Oh, man, he's a great guitar player. He's on EMI Records, and just unbelievable people.
And Vinny Galiuta, Bill Frisell, and so all those people. I mean,
they're all there, man. Yeah, Vinny, Steve, John Robinson, drummers like Philippe Sace, Dimiola. You know, we were just, and there was no competition. I think we all felt like this was a magical time. And and Berklee, by the way, and you guys probably know this anyway, Berklee has an attitude that if you go to it's almost like Berklee as a human being. He's like, if you come to my school, you will be somebody. It's not like they're teaching you to be a technician. It's just, you come here, you have success. As long as you do the work, right?
Follow the rules and with the work.
Follow the rules, yeah. It's and indeed, it's like they fulfill this promise. You know, there's a lot of new musicians that come from there. Mancuso, this genius guitar player, all these kinds of people that are out there. They're gone to Berklee. You know, I'm trying to think of this guy. I think he said from Chile. He's a keyboard player. You know what I'm talking about? I'll think of his name. He's wonderful.
No, Christian may know. I don't.
Yeah, so back at the beginning, Berklee was everything, man. Was everything for all of us. I think if you interview or are friends with, like you are with me now, these people, we all have a very, very warm spot. I don't think we thought of it as school. I think we thought of it as you know, this phrase, rite of passage.
Yeah, I know what it means in English.
Kristen, you know this phrase, rite of passage?
I don't know how to translate.
Yeah.
It's like, you have to do this to do this. You like a ladder. It's a rite of passage. You go here, you struggle through this, you torture through this, you learn this, and eventually they'll let you pass into where you needed to go. In fact, a lot of older musicians feel that younger musicians these days, they're not going through the rite of passage. They come up with something cool, they get on YouTube, and suddenly everybody likes them, and then they're gone, you know, or they don't have the same, they didn't go through the playing weddings for 15 years.
Yeah, there's a similar saying in academia, something like the teacher opened the doors, but you need to enter by yourself.
Oh, wow.
Think about it. The teacher opened the door, but you need to enter by yourself. So first of all, to begin, Christian, to enter Berklee, you need to pass an admission test and a test. So it's very difficult to get into to begin with. Number two, there are, 20 drummers, 20 people that play the guitar, the violin, whatever. So although you need to be very good, some of them, I would say, I don't know, a good percentage don't make it big like you did.
No, and
you will graduate, right? You will graduate, you will learn, you are a better player, you went hand with this guy, that guy, you learn a lot, but some of them will never make it. It's very difficult, and I'm not telling you to see you, Jamie, it's very difficult to be successful and be a very, very good musician. You're gifted, but what I was saying at the beginning, the 4 years you were there were unbelievable. They never accepted that many young kids, or 18, 19 years old, that half the class went to do very well with themselves. It
would, but what's very interesting about what you're saying, first of all, thank you. I'm very flattered to be included.
No, you are good. Well, you earn it. You're good. That doesn't, you earn it.
But interestingly, the pressure of being around these amazing musicians, to be in a class, I was in 3 classes where Mike Stern was sitting next to me. We used to trade the music. He'd be guitar 1, I'd be guitar 2. Then it was different music to read. I change it, and he would play guitar 2. I play guitar 1, and on like this, right? And my life, it took a turn because of this greatness, this pressure, because I was online with 621 people for graduation. It's a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
And I looked around and I said, okay, every one of these people, they had the same school as me, the same classes, the same tests, the same this, the same that, whatever. How can I become a success?
Mm.
How can I do it? Why is it that Claudio plays great guitar? He's going to be famous. What do I need to do? And the answer came very easy, which changed my life. I made a list. What is it can I do that they don't do? And there was a couple things. One is, again, the sight reading of music.
Mm.
If I learned to be a good reader, which was, for some reason, some stupid reason, guitar players are not always great readers of music because of the nature of it's pop music and we play and you're going to make a song with one lesson, you know. So I learned to be a great sight reader. Number 2, I learned business. I studied marketing. I studied business. In fact, I still do. And now in this day and age, not only to promote myself, but like I was telling you, I have right at the moment 13 wonderful social media clients. Jean-Luc Ponty's page on Facebook is me posting with it. By the way, I'm not just writing. He tells me do this, do that. I mean, but I help him with with advertisements, with page likes, and the management. You know, yeah, I don't want to make it sound like I'm his shadow. And I'm do maybe you guys know Robert Berry, who was the bass player with Keith Emerson when it was Emerson, Lake and Berry, you know.
Yeah.
Emerson, Palmer and Berry. Robert, I've been his social media manager for 3 years now. We have a lot of great clients like that. A smooth jazz artist, the Jazz Holdouts. I'm sure you guys know them. Michael Thompson, Alan Palanker. Not only did I play on the album, but I'm their social media manager. And why is this? And yes, there's an income from this, right? But also a joy to help people. And this was from that day in graduating Berklee, because there were all these great musicians. And my fear was I was not going to make it. So I was going to do anything I could, Claudia,
to increase your chances.
Yeah, to increase the chance. Exactly.
Right. And in many ways, you answer the kind of question in your website, your bio, when you guys were touring Europe, right?
Yes.
The show before you guys were all the great guitarist players that you admire, and you went to the dressing room and you told something to Jean-Luc. No, I cannot do that, man. I cannot do that. What do you mean I cannot? You're my guitar. No, I cannot do that. All these guys that are going to be playing 10 minutes before us or half an hour are people that I admire. I couldn't do it. And then, but you can tell the story. And then Jean-Luc Ponty said, who are you, man? Blah, blah, blah. Well, you're Jamie. You play in the band. And he says something like, I could have any guy here. Many people wanted to join my band, but I pick you. So there is a reason that I selected you, man. And then you have an unbelievable night. Meaning that sometime
I like the way
you need to be good, obviously, to make it into the business, right? Like any profession, like English. Christian is an English teacher. I'm a computer engineer, but you need to be confident. Huh?
What kind of engineer?
I'm a computer engineer.
Wow. No wonder why they turned my video on with the Zoom. No, just.
But it's the confidence that people have. Johnny and Peter are very good players. Some people are more confident than others. Some people have better experiences. Going back to what you say about walking in the snow at 3 o'clock in the morning going for Berkeley all the way to Brookline, where the snow, Christian, is like this. You're up to here.
Yeah.
You know, with a little coat, and the train is not running, and you train, man, God, if God exists, I would like to play with these guys. And then 20 years later, you did it. So
Can you explain why that happened?
I know. You want me to explain?
Yeah, no, I do.
Yeah. So
I want to know, because sometimes
Well-
I don't always feel like I deserve. I mean, I had a problem in 1994 with an earthquake. Maybe you know. I
No.
had 2 years. I have a book out called Hear the Silence, where I help other people. I was 1/4 mile from the earthquake, and I had mental problems, PTSD.
Yeah.
And except for 2 years, my life is nonstop fun. It's nonstop success. It's nonstop love. Even every day, every minute, like 1 hour before I came to visit you and Christian, I was almost dancing downstairs. I have 2-story house. I was almost dancing. And you know why? Because I got Claudio Bustamante and Christian who want to talk to me. Why the hell do they want to talk to me? I'm just another guy with an animal pooping on me. I have a guitar, a couple of guitars. But these guys wanted to go on Zoom.
Yeah.
They have an interest in me. Why?
Because you are Jamie Glazer. That's why. It's not that there are many Jamies, there are many Glazer, but there's only one Jamie Glazer who, you know, is a great guitar player in his own right. He's doing a lot of stuff, and of course, I love Jean-Luc Ponty. Christian love him too. But you're doing well for yourself. You know, you have your life before Ponty, in between when you left. You came back, and now you're doing stuff and other stuff. You're doing well with yourself, man. You earn it, you know.
The interesting thing is that sometimes, you know, there was a rock and roll, well, I don't know, rock and roll pop artist. His name Ricky Nelson. You guys remember Ricky Nelson?
No.
He says,
Sure.
I'm a traveling man, made a lot of stuff all over this world. Remember that? Was
He wasn't very popular here, but he's very famous. He was very well. Yeah.
in America, he was like the big. And he has a song called The Garden Party. You just got to look at it. This story was a song he wrote after 10 years. He had sold 200 million records, you know. And everybody who comes to the show at Madison Square Garden, they want to hear him singing the #1 hits. But he has a brand new album, and he wants to promote his new album. And so he comes to the show, and he plays one of the hits, and everybody goes crazy. And for the next maybe 40 minutes, he's playing all new songs. Everything new. Nobody knew these songs like at all, really. And they started to boo him. Boo! It was the worst show in his life. And so he writes this song called The Garden Party. He said, I went to a garden party, and he basically says the audience only wanted to hear what he did before. And that he said, if that's all I'm good for, then basically he didn't say it, but he's like, go to hell to everybody, yeah? And so on Facebook, I don't know why on Facebook, but everybody on Facebook that friends me, they go, I was a big fan of Jean-Luc Ponty. I'm a big fan of Jean-Luc Ponty. On and on and on. And yet, if you really count the years, maybe there's 4 or 5 years with Ponty, 6 years maybe, right? All this other time, you know, they got the Seinfelds and Spielberg and Disney and you know, you're listening.
Manhattan Transfer and Corea and Lenny White. Yeah,
but I mean, all this other stuff. And I'm like, why do you guys keep bringing me to 1978? You know, what happened? You think, and there was one guy who actually wrote me, he thought that I was dead. Said, Why? He says, because, well, I didn't see you on tour for 10 years. He said, I thought you overdosed and died. I said, well, first of all, I have nothing to overdose on. And secondly, I can make a living without being on tour, you know?
Yeah, that's right. Yes, right. Yeah.
But, you know, I take a little, but seriously, I promise you, to me, to be with the two of you and to your audience, it's very fulfilling for me. To be honest with you guys, I have nothing to promote right now. I could promote my social media company and this and that, but I just came here to have, as you guys said at the beginning, let's have a conversation.
It's a conversation. Like people, when I email them, right, and we have talked to very famous people too. It's a conversation. It's not a questionnaire. I'm not going to ask the same question. Some are questions everybody will ask you, but I want to know about you. You know, before Ponty, after Ponty, in between, your brother, you know, your parents, blah, blah, blah. I think
had no other people on your radio show.
Yeah.
Podcast with a chinchilla pooping.
Yeah, that's right. We never got that. That's unique. You never know what it's like a box of chocolate. You never know what you're gonna have from the movie. Yeah, I think right now, Jamie, it's almost 8 o'clock here, 10 p.m. for Christian in Chile. I think he needs to leave, but I think we need to do a second part and a third part and a fourth part, man.
You know, guys, I was going to ask if maybe I
There's
should.
Too many things we want to go over, you know.
I would love to if you would have me again.
Of course.
But
sure.
Really important. You don't have to record this part, take this out, but you know that I do have the social media, and because not only for me, but I'll help you, you know, to advertise this.
Sure. I appreciate it. Yeah.
I'm a good connection that way, you know. About the other stuff, I don't know, but I really appreciate your time, guys. And you need to go to sleep. If you don't sleep, we won't talk to you again.
It's the other way around, Mister. Thanks so much. It's really an honor. Don't be. I mean, you say it's flattering, but what else can we do? I mean, since I don't play any instruments, so what you do is really magic. You know.
Well, I'll tell you what. On the next, if we do a part 2,
we will.
Yeah. You have a guitar in your house?
Just a picture.
Well, we need to get your guitar. I'll give you a lesson on the show for free.
Okay, I'll get one then.
Christian, we know each other since '76 when we were listening to Ponty.
That's
we were schoolmates. Yeah, we were in school together.
You know, Aurora, Enigmatic Ocean, all the good stuff. Christian is the guy who knows most music than most of the people in the world. He was head of 2 big radio stations in Santiago, Chile.
Is this behind you? Are those CDs or DVDs or books?
DVDs. I had a very good luck, Jamie, of being the music or artistic director of Futuro FM, Future FM, between '89 and '96. And there I even made a medley of Jean-Luc Ponty, and it's on YouTube. And I would play all the bands that I really love: Genesis, Yes, Pink Floyd, Emerson, Lake and Palmer, Black Sabbath, Gino Vanelli, Cocteau Twins, Dead Can Dance, etc., etc., etc. It was the first time in Chile you had such a station, non-pop music, not 24 hours, but a long time during the day. So it really made an impression on many people, and they still ask me, "Oh, why don't you go on doing this?" Well, you know, it's a long story. I want to, on my part, Jamie, I want to thank you for the time you've given us today. It was really, I was telling Claudio, this is one of the best interviews we've made so far, because you've been so clear and focused on the questions, and you've shared so nice and particular experiences that I never imagined I would hear. So thank you for that generosity, and I love your love for animals. I love your love for animals. We share that.
Did you guys hear the birds while I was?
Yeah,
of course we heard.
I was worried because I was listening. They love the music, and they can see me. They're 2 rooms away. In the hall, there's a hallway in the room, and they're on a stand watching me the whole time. And when you are talking, Claudia, they love your voice. For some reason,
my accent.
Christian too. But when Claudia was talking about the story, which was said so beautifully about when Ponty told me I was his man, his musician, The birds were flipping out, man. They love you guys. Two of you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you guys
Thank you for the time.
for your interest, for our new friendships.
Yeah, thank you. This was our interview with Jamie Glazer, and thank you very much for your time. And we'll do a part 2, part 3, the week next week and the week after, and so on and so forth. Thank you again for your time. And I will, after this is over, I will send you a link, and I will send you the recording and the audio, and so you can keep it for your social media.
Okay, thank you. You let me know what I can do. Have a good night, guys. Sleep well.
You do. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you. Appreciate it. Stay healthy, man. Thank you.
See you, Claudio.
See you.